Let's talk about how to secure your devices and your data. Hey, what's up? I'm Mark Scott. Thanks for checking out another voiceover tip. If you never want to miss one of these tips, all you have to do is like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get notified every single week. New tips going up all the time. Every one of those tips designed to help give you actionable, practical advice you can use to grow your voiceover business. Now, let me preface this week's tip by saying I am not an expert in cybersecurity by any stretch of the imagination. However, I have done a ton of e-learning narration in the space of cybersecurity, and quite frankly, it scared the living snot out of me. There's a lot of stuff going on out there on the internet that we should be very, very concerned about. And I know for most of us, our assumption is it's never going to happen to me. That's what everybody thinks, right up until the first time when it actually happens to them. And so I do think that there are things that we need to be thinking about as VOpreneurs to protect ourselves and to protect our data. Think about what exists on your computer. You've got all of your financial information, you've got all of your personal information, you've got all kinds of client information. What is in your email inbox? All the jobs that I've ever worked on, all the scripts I've ever worked on, non-disclosure agreements, contracts, all that sort of stuff, right? There's a ton of data that we're holding on to that we should be trying to protect. Not just ours, but stuff for the people that we work with as well. And that's not to mention audio files and all of those sorts of things. So what can we do to protect ourselves? Now, I know that we think that we're never going to get hacked. But first off, how many times a week does somebody in your Facebook feed post a status update that they've been hacked? Every week. Every week it happens at least a couple of times. So yeah, people are out there getting hacked. Secondly, we think that it's only going to happen to large corporations, right? People are going to try to hack Apple and hold them hostage for billions of dollars. Well, there's another trend that's taking place where small businesses are being targeted because they've got more to lose. And so you go after small businesses for a little less money. Ransomware, it's a scary thing. So there are some basic steps that I think that we can take to protect ourselves. And again, not a cybersecurity expert, but there are some things that I've learned along the way. And these are some of the things that I'm doing to protect my own computers, devices, and data. So first and foremost is strong passwords. Every time you see that another one of your friends has been hacked on Facebook, it's because they're using a really lame password. Basically, any password under 7 characters can be hacked almost instantly. On the flip side of that, Hive Security recently came out with their updated infographic for 2022 showing password security. And we're talking about if you're using a password that has numbers, letters, including upper and lowercase, and symbols, hashtags or the @ sign or things of that nature. If you're using one of those types of passwords with 16 characters, it would take 92 billion years to hack it. Bump that up to 18 characters, 438 billion years to hack that password. Using a strong password is one of the easiest things that you can do, but not using the same one over and over again, and there's no excuse to have to do that anymore. If you're an Apple user, you have Keychain, which gives you the ability to generate strong passwords and store them all in one place. I use a service called 1Password. Same idea, a password vault that allows me to create those passwords, those strong passwords, store them all in one place. So I don't have to remember passwords anymore. So there's no reason to be using simple passwords or very easily guessed passwords. LastPass is another one that a lot of people use. So make sure that you are using strong passwords. Second tip, which goes right along with that, is lying on your security questions. This is something I would have never thought of, but hey, this is what I love about doing e-learning narration. You learn something new every day when you're doing e-learning narration. When I say security questions, you know that when you're entering passwords on certain sites that it's going to ask you to enter security questions so that if you forget your password, you can answer those questions and they'll send you a link to be able to reset your password. And some of those questions are pretty basic. What school did you go to? What was your pet's first name? What was your mother's maiden name? What city were you born in, right? It wouldn't be hard for somebody to figure some of that stuff out online with a couple of very quick and easy Google searches. But with using a password vault, such as 1Password, you can actually create secure notes, which means that you can now lie on your security questions. So even if you were born in New York City, you could write down that you were born in, Kuala Lumpur, and then keep that in a secure note so you don't forget what you said. But now it becomes so much more difficult for people to guess what your security questions are, which makes it harder for hackers to try and steal your accounts. So that's number 2, lie on your security questions. Number 3 is using a VPN, which is a virtual private network. This is one that I started using a lot when I started traveling, because when I was traveling, you're on airport Wi-Fi, you're on hotel Wi-Fi. Maybe you go to the coffee shop and you work at the local coffee shop, so now you're on local coffee shop Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi is a pretty dangerous place, and it's a really easy spot for hackers to gain access to your personal data. And so using a tool like a VPN becomes very helpful. It protects your system and your data by encrypting your internet connection, and that helps to keep your communication safe. Now, I'm not going to go into the inner workings of VPN. I don't understand it. I just know it's good. I know it works. I know I've been using one for years. And so I think it's one of those tips that you see all the time. Protecting your internet connection, particularly if you're using public Wi-Fi a lot, is so important. So I do use it in airports and hotels, and if I'm at a restaurant or a coffee shop, or working, if I'm in a mall and I'm connected to Wi-Fi while my wife and kids are shopping or something like that. So I use ExpressVPN. There are a lot of different options that are out there for that, but getting a VPN can be really important to protecting your device and your data. Number 4 on the list is having redundant backups. If the worst happens, you're going to want to have more than one backup. If somebody does get into your system and you are now the subject of a ransomware attack, one of the things that will save you is backups. Having the ability to just go back and restore all of your data, not losing any of your data. I made the mistake of only having one backup, and it bit me in the butt once before because of a drive failure, and I did end up losing some data. So now I have multiple backups. I have 2 physical drives that I'm backing up to. One of them is running Apple Time Machine. One of them I drag files over to manually every couple days. So I've got 2 of those backups. Then I also have a cloud backup system, which is always updating my computer continuously into the cloud so that I know that I've got a third option in case of an emergency. Now for that one, I am using Backblaze, and you've probably seen links to Backblaze and some of the stuff that I do. I'll put a link to Backblaze in the description for this video as well. I love it. It's very affordable. It sets up and runs in the background. It uploads everything to the cloud. You can download files as you need them, but now I know that I'm protected because I have redundant backups. And then the 5th thing I want to suggest to you is making sure that everything is up to date. Operating system, software, drivers, browsers, your devices, all of that sort of stuff. A lot of times when updates are coming out, they're security patches. It's because somebody's found another way to get in. Look, hackers are working full time trying to figure out how to get all of our information and our data. So all of those security updates that are coming are important, and you need to be putting those on your computer, on your tablet, on your laptop, on your smartphone, whatever, as frequently as possible to make sure that you are keeping yourself safe. You don't ever want to find yourself in a situation where your system has been hacked and you've lost your data, where your data has been leaked online, where somebody is holding your system hostage, or even worse, where they've got access to client data because of files that you're keeping on your computer. I don't ever want that to happen. So if some of the things that I have to do are using a service like LastPass or 1Password, using a service like ExpressVPN, using a service like Backblaze, there's some pretty small and simple and affordable steps that I can take to make sure that everything is always going to be protected and secured. You should be thinking about doing the same as well.